What do you have for us, Jess?
The Aces won. They repeated.
Really?
First team that has repeated in the WNBA in over 20 years.
It was like 2001, right?
Yeah, the Sparks were the last team to do it.
Celebration
And then
looked fun.
Houston before that.
Like bombarding the press conference with music. It was fun.
They have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Asia Wilson looks like she has a lot of fun.
We like to have fun.
She does like to have fun.
Yeah.
They all do. It was a great game though. I mean, the Liberty were like a second away from taking the lead and forcing a game 5, which would have been back in Vegas, but they weren't able to get the rebound. John Cole Jones had the rebound and took a shot, but the buzzer had already gone off.
Right
after Courtney Vandersloot missed the hard 3. But it was. I mean, the emotion swing, if you're a Liberty fan at that game, had to have been devastating, because then it goes from all right, it looks like they got over the crappy third quarter they had. They're going to come back and win it. And then, nope, other team celebrating on our court now. Our season's over.
Headed towards a dynasty, these Aces.
Yeah.
Back to back, Jack.
Did you want a game 5?
Well,
Yeah,
back-to-back aces.
Best 2 words in sports.
I think game 4 was definitely the best game of this series. It was the closest. It had the most back and forth. Like the Aces had I think a 9-0 run in the third quarter, and that was when I was like, oh, okay. When they're playing to form, they are so good. And they had 2 starters that were out for this game, not including Candace Parker, who got hurt before the All-Star break. So they were able to win despite a lot of injuries and things like that. But it was a really, really good game. You missed out if you didn't get to watch it.
I didn't.
Yeah, I know a lot of people here were watching FIU and Sam Houston State instead, which is fine.
Balls up.
Choice.
Yep.
And
I had money on FIU.
won,
Yeah.
So there you go.
Double overtime is.
FIU was playing a winless team, and they were getting 5.5 points.
Yeah.
It was an easy bet.
It took to
Double
double
OT.
overtime for it to, not. Was it? You'd say that was a successful season for the Liberty, right? Like there were big expectations for them headed into the season, but they made it to the championship.
I think it was a successful season. They won the Commissioner's Cup, which was they played against the Aces. I think they beat the Aces twice in the regular season, but it depends how you measure success, because they definitely wanted the championship. Brianna Stewart won MVP.
Yeah.
They will raise a banner for winning their conference.
But I'd rather
like the
not get to just me. This is just me. I've always said, don't be 8-8. Don't be very good. Be championship good, right? I'd rather my teams be bad to get a draft pick. So I would not want my teams to go to the championship. I know this sounds crazy. I'd rather them be really, really bad than go to the championship round and lose.
But that's not 8-8. The team that makes it to the championship and loses is
occasionally a
not
9-7 sneaks in. The Jets went to an AFC championship game as a 9-7 team.
But
the Packers won a Super Bowl as a 9-7 team.
I think you'd rather have the bona fide superstars on your team playing in front of sellout crowds and make it to the finals. That's just me, though.
I guess when you make it to the finals, but know your team probably has no business being in the finals and has no future, that's what I'm talking about. The Panthers.
This is like the Iowa football debate right now.
Yes.
That Lucy's been waging in her mentions all week.
Yes.
If they go 11-1 and they don't fire Brian Ferentz, was this the best thing? But you also, it's do you want to root against your own team to lose? Probably not.
Let's try it this way. If I told you last year, rather than go to the NBA Finals, which the Heat did, they could have been really bad and had the number 1 overall pick and got Wembanyama.
Nope.
What do you mean, no?
Well, I want to go to the NBA Finals. We did this before the playoffs started.
If you remember, they were trying to advocate for losing in the play-in
Don't point at
round
me
so
when
that
you
they
say
could-
they.
No, I'm pointing
Tony
to...
wanted us to
Tony
go
wanted
to
the only guy
yeah.
wearing Heat paraphernalia here. That you're gonna point at me?
Yeah, you did.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, no,
We're
you
not
did.
doing this again.
No,
We're not doing this again.
You wanted the Heat to lose in the
I
play-in
did.
round so that because it gave them a 0.25% chance of getting the
It was
first.
less. It was 0.5.
I'm not even saying the play-in round. I'm saying be historically bad. Be the Spurs last year. Be
It's
really
not
bad.
Tony, that was bad math.
0.05.
I have a question for you, Jess.
Okay, fair enough.
Where do you stand on Becky Hammon? Because she's been the head coach of the Aces for 2 years. She's won 2 titles. And obviously she was discussed as a potential NBA head coach option for teams, right? And then people were thinking, oh, will she take over for Pop when Pop is gone? And then, she goes to the WNBA, and then some people...
Where's Pop going, D3?
Well, some people will view that as this is a lesser job, but obviously that's then insulting to the league and to Becky, saying, coaching in the WNBA is a lesser job than an NBA head coach. So if you have the success here and then an opportunity opens up in the NBA, Do you view that as something that an opportunity Becky should take as becoming the first woman head coach in the NBA? Or is that viewed as like, well, why would you leave a good thing?
If she wants to do that, I think like that would be great for her, and she should do whatever she wants to do with her career. I certainly like wouldn't judge her for it. I think the question about like her legacy, especially after this season, is an interesting one because she was suspended for the first 2 games of the season because a former player accused her of retaliating against her and trading her to the Sparks while she was pregnant. And so the WNBA did an investigation. She got suspended. It's something that's kind of been like looming over this playoffs for the last couple weeks because the player Dearica Hamby filed a complaint with the Equal Opportunity Commission saying that she was discriminated against when she was traded and that it was retaliatory. And Becky Hammon has claimed that like it wasn't, it was a business decision. So that I think is a really interesting thing that hasn't really fully played out yet, and something that I think like there's a lot, you can tell a lot about a league and a company and like whatever you want to call it about how they treat their parents that work for their company, how they treat like injured players, vulnerable players, things like that. And this was, I think, a really bad look for the WNBA. But something that I haven't seen a ton of people talk about because, you want to celebrate that the Aces won. They're one of the best teams of all time. They have so many superstars on their team. And Becky Hammon is one of the best X's and O's coaches like ever in this league. Like she's a phenomenal coach. So, I mean, I think it just depends. Like if she wants to take that step, that is 100% her call. And like she has every right to do whatever she wants. And I don't really think anyone would criticize her for it because she has won 2 championships in her first 2 years as a WNBA head coach. And like it kind of just depends, like what do you want to do, like what's the right thing for you.
Yeah, you've done everything you can here.
I think there is also a really interesting conversation happening in the WNBA about the Phoenix Mercury hiring their new head coach. He is now the highest paid head coach in the WNBA despite having never coached in the WNBA before, or obviously played in the WNBA before. So there's a lot of consternation amongst like the types of people that get hired in this league still and like who's able to be hired in it. Those are all conversations that I think are going to keep happening in the offseason.
It's definitely interesting to see a male coach follow Becky Hammon's path, though, of assistant coach in the NBA, then head coach in the WNBA.